state of the nation.
The Gems, the Golden Girls, Kirsty Coventry, Kennedy Tsimba, Brian Zingai, Nick Price, Peter Ndlovu, Andy Flower, Hamilton Masakadza, Elliot Mujaji, Stephen Mujinji, Byron, Kara, and Wayne, also named Black. Do these names ring a bell? They should. These are Zimbabwean sporting heroes, names of people who carried the flag of our nation high, and boy, have they done us proud. From Olympic gold, to Wimbledon, to the world #1 in golfing, to the Rugby Hall of Fame, even into political office, they have collectively schooled us on the fact that sport is more than just a game. In our country, it has always been seen as a hobby or watched as a pastime. But the global sports industry is now a multi-billion-dollar industry. Want some numbers? According to Kearney, globally sports is a $620 billion economy. In soccer, we're looking at $28 billion in Europe alone. For the Rugby World Cup, that figure is $5.3 billion, and the Tokyo Olympics was worth a whopping $15.4 billion. And the newcomer to the game, esports, is worth $1 billion. Yes, playing games online is a new sports frontier. We have just watched the Tokyo Olympics. This is the pinnacle of the world of sports. Just getting into the Olympics is every athlete's dream. This includes our own Zimbabwean athletes. But let's take a step back and take a quick look at sports history in Zimbabwe. In 1980, we pulled off a miracle. The women's hockey team won gold at the Games in Moscow. They became known as the Golden Girls. 24 years later, at the 2004 Athens Olympics, Kirsty powered her way to gold, silver, and bronze. In 2008, she won 4 medals, a gold and 3 silvers. This made her Africa's most successful Olympian. In the Paralympics, Zimbabweans have won a total of 2 gold medals, 9 silver, and 6 bronze. Who can forget Elliot Mujaji? He took gold in 2000 in the 100-meter sprint. He won gold 4 years later in the same event. So just how many Olympic medals do we have? 8. That's the total number of medals Zimbabwe has. 7 of those were won by Kirsty. So that's the good news. But the question is this: why have we failed to win more medals? It took us 24 years to get the other 7. And since Kirsty's last appearance at the 2008 Beijing Olympics, we are yet to win any more medals. So how do we fix this? Well, there's no way around it. To qualify for the Olympics, our athletes need more tournaments and meets. They say practice makes perfect. If we don't do this, other countries will keep grabbing our most talented athletes. It has happened before. We have even seen a Zimbabwean physiotherapist helping Britain win medals in Tokyo. Why aren't we creating new winners? Why are we happy to celebrate poor performances? Let's face the facts. We have poor infrastructure, we lack dedicated coaches, and you guessed it, there's no funding. Yes, it's okay for people to leave for better chances out there. This happens in every profession, but they shouldn't leave because of the lack of proper infrastructure at home. Grassroots sport has to be a well-oiled machine. This is where our young athletes are groomed, scouted, and drafted. Benjani Maruwaru, Peter Ndlovu, and Kirsty herself came through such programs. We need to promote sports in tertiary institutions. Here's an example. South Africa had 185 athletes at the Olympics. 97 of these were university students. This shows you why it's important to support sports from primary schools, colleges, and universities. The ministry is now developing talent identification programs for schools. This must be sped up. Number 2, legislation needs to change with the times. Did you know that the Boxing and Wrestling Control Act, Chapter 25.2 of 1956, still says that women cannot participate in boxing? Yes, 1956. Obviously, nobody takes this law seriously, but it still shows you that a lot needs to change. Another thing, anti-doping laws do not exist in our legislation. This means that our athletes may be disqualified from world events if they do not reach the standards required of them. Number 3, meritocracy. Competing in the qualifiers must be based on merit, not who has the financial clout and access. We know there are some super athletes from Uzumba who are not getting a chance because they're poor. They're too poor to afford sporting equipment. Some don't even have proper running shoes. There are no basic facilities. They can't even travel to sporting events even inside their own districts. We should stop treating sport as just a hobby. We must treat our athletes as professionals. We need sports science and sports insurance to make sure that our talent turns professional. Where are the reputable talent scouts to identify the talent so that it can be nurtured? Number 4, and this is important, politics must stay out of our sports. We have seen politics destroy too many sports from football to cricket. Let professionals run professional sports. That's the only way we can attract corporates to fund our sport. Sport is for the people, not for officials sitting in an office. Number 5, we need to cash in on sport. Did you know that 3.2 billion people watched the Rio Olympics? Revenue from broadcasting is now the backbone of sport funding. Why don't we have this in Zimbabwe? We must open up our broadcasting industry to even more competition. That way our sports people can benefit. We are happy we have new channels that got licenses and hope that this will also directly benefit sport. Number 6, roles need to be defined. We have the ministry, the SRC, the city council, the national sports associations. Many overlapping roles are happening. Lots of toe stepping is happening. If all stakeholders of sports will work together, a lot will be achieved. Let's fix the foundations. What about infrastructure? We cannot produce another Kirsty or Donata Katai from what remains of the Chitungwiza Aquatic Complex or Les Brown. And do we seriously think we can have another medal-winning hockey team given the state of the Magamba Hockey Stadium? It's now being used as a venue for churches. Where are we with the promise of bucket seats and other renovations at the National Sports Stadium? We are glad that Kirsty's ministry is taking some steps on these issues. The national budget is now setting aside resources targeted especially at fixing some of our sports infrastructure. Did you know? Government is now levying 5% of the takings from all these sports betting shops we have all over the country. This money is going into rehabilitating sports facilities. That's a smart way to raise money. Multi-purpose youth community spaces are being built with a target of 40 every year. This year, 15 have already been built. Once completed, they will have Wi-Fi, boreholes, and even a dedicated sports day. What about tax incentives? These can also help corporates when they fund these sporting events and teams. We have seen how Nyaradzo Group donates buses to sporting teams. For May dressing our soccer stars. These gestures help grow the sports industry. We want to encourage those corporates to push to do even more, from insurance to even financial literacy skills for our sports stars. Most lose all their money because of lack of financial knowledge. What about private investment? The mining sector is growing, but are mining companies investing enough back into communities? Government must make sure that they do. Community investment must include sports infrastructure. A great example is the Baobab Stadium at Ngezi Platinum. We must see more mines doing this. And where have our national tournaments gone? Do you remember the Chamber of Mines Games? They attracted around 4,000 local athletes and sports administrators every year. That's how we got the likes of Elliot Mujaji. We need this back. The last Chamber of Mines Games were held in 2007. We are still waiting to hear from the Sports and Recreation Commission on when the 49th edition of these games, dubbed the Zimbabwean Olympics, will return. Where are the Interbank Games? Where are the famous ZUSAs? What are these competitions producing? These are our questions to the ministry and the SRC. It's time we stopped being satisfied with mediocrity. Oh, at least he tried. Oh, at least she did her best. No, we must be satisfied with success and achievement. Nobody can doubt our potential. We've had great sporting heroes over the years. Olympics aside, we had Kilimanjaro, one of Africa's best heavyweight boxers. We have been to the Rugby World Cup. Nick Price, once the world's #1 golfer. Robert Gwaze, once the world's #1 chess player, a whole grandmaster. Andy Flower, once one of the world's best cricket batsmen. Peter Ndlovu led the way for African players in the English Premier League. We had Renika Alfonso, a Commonwealth boxing champion. Stephen Mujinji was a champion ultra-marathon runner. I mean, we even had an athlete at the Winter Olympics. Yes, the Winter Olympics. Luke Steyn, born in Zimbabwe, competed in alpine skiing in 2014. There are over 30 sports at the Olympics, with 5 being added at this year's edition. What we need is to look at every sport we have and work on where we are strongest. It's time to plan ahead for the future Olympics. We need our athletes involved in more tournaments. We need better facilities here at home. And we need sports administrators who love and understand sports. We have no shortage of talent. We are happy joint partnerships between the ministry managing our sport and the Zimbabwe Olympic Committee gives us hope. They are targeting sports we are good at and strengthening those structures. We can easily groom talent. Look at Jamaica. They're known for sprint. Kenya, long distance. Brazil, soccer. New Zealand, rugby. We have been fairly good in all of those. Our long distance runners are still ranking well internationally. Our gems are feared world over. Our women's soccer team can easily break the glass ceilings. We can do all this, but let's fix the foundations first. And we are happy that we are on the right course. Now let's help our sports ambassadors realize their dreams. Like, share, comment, and subscribe.